Hello everybody, Hellcrex here. Welcome to another Mercenary Thoughts from the Inner Sphere. Well, today we're going to be talking about the Behemoth Heavy Tank. It's the 100-ton slow-moving monstrosity that doesn't see itself on the table very much. I've used it before. I remember one time it was at Gen Con. I had a whole lance of these things and rolled them right up the middle of the table and tore things up. But overall, it's not what you call an open terrain type of tank. If you got a city fight going on, yeah, it's an urban assault vehicle. But other than that, it's got some things that's not so great. All right, it's I said 100-ton tank. Comes in around almost 1,200 battle value. It is a 2-3 moving tank, so it's slow. Hence, you basically park a lance of these things on a objective in a city and don't really move. You let them come to the objective and then you pummel them with what you have. Now, it doesn't have any heat sinks because it has internal combustion engine. And the weapon loadout doesn't really matter because you don't have anything that uses energy, so they're not a problem. It has 208 points or 12 tons of armor on board, which isn't bad. But, you know, if you typically play against vehicles any length of time, 200, 300, doesn't really matter too much. Your life expectancy typically isn't all that great when it comes to being in a vehicle. All right. Speaking of weapons, all right, we have 2 AC-10s in the turret with 2 tons of ammo, so basically a ton for each, so you got 10 shots. Typically, you probably never ever see those 10 shots being used up. And then we have on the front slope, as you can see, there are 4 LRM-5s with 2 tons of ammo. You'll probably never ever use them all up. All right. And then in the turret, we have 2 SRM-6 launchers with 2 tons of ammo in the body. And then we have 2 SRM-2s on the front. Then we have 2 SRM on the left and right side with a ton of ammo. Okay. And then we have 2 machine guns on the front slope. Then we have a machine gun on the right and left side with 1 ton of ammo in the body. All right. Well, overall, it does have some decent firepower. It can shoot out to 15 or 21. One thing, at least they have 2 tons of ammo for the launcher for the LRM. So if you did want to, by chance, put a really light smoke barrage down with the 4 launchers and put down some covering fire, yeah, you can do that. So you have that. Now, the only thing I really would like to have seen was a 2nd ton. Well, you do have 2 tons of ammo for the SRM-6. So there you go. You can do the same thing. Now, what I would like to have seen was 2 tons of ammo for the SRM-2s because, you know, with 2 tons of ammo, you could have 1 Inferno, 1 standard munitions, because at least with the Infernos, you can launch out there and start cooking, help cook infantry out to a better distance, or hit vehicles and cause hits on them, you know, crit chances because of overheating, etc. Or overheat a mech, for that matter. So that's why I'd rather have seen an extra ton of ammo for that SRM-2s. But it does fall under the same problem as that you got SRM-2s, then you got SRM-6s. I sort of understand why they went with the SRM-2s. You might have, you know, it's like you're possibly, I guess you could have just gone with the 1 ton of ammo, being Inferno, and gone the route I was talking about, heavy the Inferno launcher. But you can also think about doing the same thing because I really would like to see a change. Is like you could go on with all machine guns, take those 2 SRM2s on each side and the 2 in the front, and gave yourself a whole battery array of machine guns gone that route. So there's many different ways of looking at this thing. But overall, you have short range firepower with the machine guns. Basically, though, is that I always look at the machine guns as you're moving down a city block and the infantry pops up and starts hammering you away with ballistic or energy or SRMs or LRM type munitions, starting to pepper your tank, then at least you got machine guns to do some damage to them. Otherwise, when it comes to doing damage against infantry, the autocannons and the SRMs are not going to do much. Now, I kind of alluded to it before, how to use this tank. It's basically, if you're playing in a city, urban environment, this is where this mech will excel. You're not going anywhere with it. You have your objective and you park on it. And you don't move. Because with a 2-3 mover, you kind of point yourself towards the direction that from your front slope towards where the enemy's coming from. Face towards the enemy, and then you just kind of indirect fire with the LRMs until they get close enough, and then you engage with LRMs and AC-10s and the SRMs, and you just create yourself a layered effect and hope that you survive long enough to take out a few mechs. If you're facing off against mechs, you got that. So overall, it's one of those mechs that, or not mech, but tanks that suffers from lack of speed. It's basically a slow-moving pillbox. Just think of it in those terms, because it's not going to displace quickly anywhere. So you basically deploy it on your objective and call it good, and then die in place, because there's no way this tank is going to escape. It's like, oh, we're falling back. You guys, this lance right here, what's left of you is the rear guard. Good luck, have fun, good die, and we'll bury you in a military grave someplace when we come back. That's kind of like how you feel about the Behemoth tank, being that it's so slow. It's not going to escape. It's a sacrifice. And at almost 1,200 battle value, you might consider going some different options for other tanks. Okay, there. Now there is a few other variants of this tank. We have, let me bring this up here in a second. All right, here we go. There's the armored version. This come out in 2952. Drops the machine guns and SRMs and replaces all those weapon systems with more armor. Not that it really matters, because you typically, no matter how much armor you throw on something, all it takes is a couple motive hits, and one motive hit, and this is now 1-2 and 2, and if you do that again, it's like it's just a pillbox. It's not going anywhere. So it's basically just better off parking itself and hoping that you can dish out enough damage to make up the difference. So I'm not a big fan of that version. All right. Now, there's the Flamer version, which came out a little later. This one replaces the SRM2s with Flamers. All right, so you have 4 SRM2s on board, and you can replace them easily with 4 vehicle Flamers. All right, so you got machine guns and Flamers. So if you get this thing in a city fight and some type of infantry unit, platoon decides to pop its head up, it's not long for the world. With that many Flamers, it will, and machine guns, it will kill a platoon of infantry just like that. And that's pretty much the sad story of the matter. So you're not really losing too much when it comes to the SRMs. You know, but then again, if you just carrying around infernal ammunition for the SRM2s, you might be better off, because then you can reach out and touch a little farther than you would with a flamer. So there you go. Alright, so then we got the Krita version. It came out in 3062. Hey, modern times. This version removes all the standard weaponry and carries a pair of Ultra AC-10s, a pair of MRM-10s, and a pair of Artemis fire control systems to go with the SRMs. And then additional firepower, it mounts a pair of LRM-5 launchers with Artemis. Once again, I've alluded this to many times, but I've never been a fan of putting on Artemis fire control system on my SRMs. And then putting Artemis on the LRMs is like, wow. Yeah, makes no sense. Yeah, it's just like, no, I don't think so. You might be, it's like, when is it? 3068? Somewhere in there. When the SRM-6 streaks come for the Innersphere. Now, it's like, hey, if you want to go that route, drop the SRM-2s and give yourself like 3 SRM-6 streaks. And you might be able to go that route and then totally ignore having to use Artemis. I would be for that, even though you're using more tonnage. But when you got the SRM-6s with not having Artemis, you're paying the price sort of upgrading the system, but then you're not have to worry about it being blocked with ECM. There's that. All right, so that is the Behemoth. It's in some ways considered almost a pooch, but it can be used. I've used it to good effect before. I've used it in past games as a kind of a slow-moving Zhukov tank, and did some decent damage on anything that got close to him. But there was 4 of them, so the damage output kind of helped out, along with some demolishers for in close and some other tanks to shoot out a little bit longer range. So there you go. That is the Behemoth. Hope you guys liked this one. Like and subscribe, share with your friends, and we'll see you in the next one. Hellcrags out.